And we're back for another edition of Armchair GMs brought to you by Jocks of All Trades podcast. I'm one of your hosts. I am Bugman Jay.
I'm Matt. He's Jay. I'm Matt. And welcome back, y'all.
Hey, man. How you doing, bud?
Oh, I'm doing just fine. Another busy week in the life of myself. Second oldest just turned 10 yesterday, so we enjoyed his birthday yesterday. So
Oh, yeah. Happy birthday.
Yeah. Happy birthday to my oldest son, Noah.
Oh, yeah.
Big 1-0. But week's been good. It's been busy. How about you, man?
Oh, yeah, man. Super busy. Trying to really. It's holiday money season, so a lot of work.
Oh, yeah.
And also have my wife's birthday is coming up on the 13th, so I have to try to kind of put something together for that. So it's just been a little bit extra this month. But
well, happy early birthday to your wife, because I'm sure I'll forget between now and then. So
we may have another podcast in between, though. But I don't know. But anyway, hey, tell me something. Tell me something good you saw over the weekend.
Okay, the best part for me personally was seeing Minnesota go cross seas, jump the pond, get the W. Go Vikings.
Go Vikings.
I don't know. I don't really. Other than that, I didn't really see anything too positive. I saw a lot of injuries, unfortunately, which we'll get to that later. We saw Kenny Pickett hop onto the field, so hoping that's some good things for Pittsburgh. So
definitely.
We'll see.
We'll see.
How about you, man? Did you see anything positive?
Well, over the weekend, I got to see the Braves play. My Atlanta Braves play the Mets.
Oh, yeah.
And sweep the Mets. And I found out over the weekend as well that Elton John is a super Atlanta Braves fan. And
love Elton John.
Good to see us win another division. Hopefully, we win another world title and World Series, and I'll be a happy man through December.
You guys have a good chance. I will say that.
Yeah.
On a side note, though, Aaron Judge hit number 62.
Yeah.
New AL record, new Yankees record. Not really a big Yankees fan, but
that's something good to cheer for. Yeah, definitely. I remember when I first really got into the Braves, there were a lot of rivalries between the Yankees and the Braves, and I saw my Braves lose to them countless times. So, but even on any note, that's really cool, man. For to set a new record, that's pretty cool. No matter what jersey he's wearing.
No, absolutely. So, definitely congrats to Mr. Judge there.
Yeah, congrats. But as we do every episode, I want to before we get into the ads, really, I want to ask a quick question. Kind of on par with when we get to the injury news and notes. Who do you feel has been impacted the most this season with injuries?
I still have to go with the 49ers. I mean, it was just like I feel like with them it was week after week after week after week where they had someone either hop on the injury report, and then, it was just more devastating one week after the next. I feel like the other team would probably be the Falcons, honestly, since Cordero Patterson just went out. I feel like that does a lot for your guys' running game. So
let me tell you this, not to cut you off.
No, you're good.
In the last couple of weeks, I've lost DeAndre Swift, Javonte Williams, and Cordero Patterson in the same league.
Oh.
In the same league. Luckily, Rashad Penny and Damian Pierce have been miracle workers for me. That would have been a great RB0 approach, zero RB approach.
Oof.
But yeah, that's been pretty tough blow to have to continue to produce, knowing I'm losing top players. And I didn't get Jamal Williams because he was already rostered in somebody else's league, so I had to make it work with what I had. Luckily for me, this week it worked out. I don't know how good it'll be, especially with Rashad Penny moving forward, because he's just inconsistent, to say the least. But Geno Smith has been playing pretty good at quarterback, man.
I was going to say, I feel like Geno has really taken off this year. It surprised the heck out of me. I didn't expect him to play the level that he's playing at. Definitely a lot better than the man who replaced Russell Wilson.
There you go. Let me tell you this. This is the funniest thing I've ever put in my mind to try to understand before we get into our ads. The main reason, Russell Wilson's main gripe about the offense or about playing for Seattle was the fact that the offense restricted him in his ability to be himself, right? So he goes on to Denver. And me personally, I still see those same problems in his play that line up to how his last season in Seattle was. So it to me feels more like it's a Russell Wilson thing than a scheme or a fit. Not to say that the scheme they run, the offense they run in Denver is good, because it's not. It sucks, for lack of a better term. That offensive scheme sucks. But if Geno Smith can consistently throw for over 300 yards in consecutive games, something you weren't able to amass in your last season,
right?
With this offense, I'm looking more at the quarterback than I am at the scheme. If that makes any sense.
Oh, that makes perfect sense. And, I haven't really seen a lot of games of Russell Wilson playing this season. I mean, I'll catch tomorrow night because, it's Thursday night game. They're playing they're playing Indy. Mm-hmm. So, I think I'll get a good chance to actually see firsthand what is really going on. Like I've only caught glimpses, but it's been a struggle for Russell Wilson. It's unfortunate because he did do a lot of great things for Seattle during his tenure. And, I know there was a lot of hype around him going into the season playing in Denver.
Definitely.
But it's just kind of
sputtered.
Yeah, to say the least.
It's like a tale of two halves. It's you look at someone and you see his ineffectiveness to move in a scheme, and he's complaining that the scheme is the reason why he's not able to be the Russell Wilson that we've seen. And then he goes to Denver to a coach that basically gave him the keys and told him, okay, we're going to build this offense around you. We paid you all this money, blah, 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 blah. And you see him fall short but last week. Last week was still a bad game as far as what we've seen in Russell Wilson. And Geno Smith goes out and is putting up consecutive record numbers each week with an offense that everybody expected to be bad because it was ran by Geno Smith, and one of the slowest offenses and the most run-heavy offenses in the league. So I'm just really on the fence. I really don't believe Russell Wilson will continue to be as bad as he is, but I don't see him as a top 12 quarterback anymore unless this offense starts to turn around and the pieces start to put themselves together. But I don't see it.
I don't either. Especially with Javonte Williams going out, it's like it doesn't help his case any. Sure, you have Melvin Gordon, but let's face it, Melvin Gordon isn't as young as he used to be, and other than that, we have a couple other players in that backfield that we'll get to once we get to the waiver wire pickups. Mm-hmm. But let's face it, Melvin Gordon, not the player he was when he was with the Chargers. He's not a spring chicken anymore. So
I wouldn't necessarily count him out.
Oh
but
no.
I wouldn't. He's a serviceable flex, maybe low in RB2 in a deeper league, but as someone who probably plays in a 10-team league, it's probably not a good pick for you to be anything more than the flex. And I usually like to use running backs in the flex, so he'd still be a solid flex with a decent floor, but he'll be a touchdown dependent, which you put him in the league with James Conner and players of that caliber in that tier. But all right, before we get to a question in our chat, we're going to get some ads done and get you guys some news and notes. So I'm on ad duty tonight. Please, before we go any further, if you guys like the podcast and you like what we're putting out to you guys, I would like you guys to like, rate, subscribe, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere you get your podcasts, and tell a friend. Invite someone in and allow them to engage and enjoy this experience with us. All right. I'm going to get going with these ads. All right. First ad of the night is from Fresh Cuts. Fresh Cuts is a local barbershop in Marion, Indiana. Contact Caleb Kemper for an appointment time through www.freshcutsbarbershop.com. All right. We are also supporting him as he runs for best of Grant County. Please take the time to vote for him. Voting is from September 28th to October 8th. So the voting will be done in about 3 days and can be done from the Grant County's greatest website. All right. It's not just a haircut, guys. It's an experience. All right. Our next is from Steve Illustrations. Here for all your art needs from Star Wars to G.I. Joe and beyond. See him for all the nerds in your life who you aren't sure what to get. All right. Our friends from Afro Latinos are changing things up. Check out the Culture Corner podcast featuring Avin and Shaylin and hear from them soon as they are still under construction. All right. Our next ad comes from Rules of the Frame. And the Rules of a Frame is another friend cast specializing in movie reviews of pretty much anything there is. Connor will soon be a guest on our podcast, Smash Popcorn, and we look forward to collabing with them. All right. Last but surely not least is 1,000 Wives of Weird. And they are just that, weird. From reviews of weird movies to criticizing bad movie choices, Brad H. and Billy Martell will keep you entertained and laughing for hours on end. Check them out exclusively on Spotify. And just like that,
woo,
we're done.
Magic.
All right, we're gonna go with our question from the chat right now. We're gonna go a little bit unorthodox here. So our question is, you take this one. I'm sputter.
You're good. McCurley Wolf traded Najee for Kamara. Hoping y'all have a good take on that. Honestly, I think it's a good trade. Kamara hasn't really produced the way that one would hope for. Granted, he did have an injury a couple weeks back with the bruised ribs, but I don't know. I think Najee's probably going to get the ball a lot more since Kenny Pickett is going to be starting.
I think you need to flip that.
I'm sorry?
He traded Najee for Kamara.
Yeah. Oh, whoops.
There you go.
I read that wrong. Okay. Well, in that case,
I would take it as a good thing because if you look at the schedule coming up for Najee, he's going up Sunday against the Bills, and then next week they have the Buccaneers, then the Dolphins, then the Eagles, then the Saints. How much productivity do you feel that Najee will be able to bring to the table when their offensive line is getting one of the lowest yards before contact in the league? It's a very bad offensive line. Kamara is playing hurt, but he is playing with, in my opinion, a better offensive line. And in the future, I feel like he'll have more opportunities because if you look at the Saints record, the Saints Schedule. They're at the Seahawks, at the Bengals, Arizona, the Raiders, and the Ravens, and then the Steelers. I see at least 3 to 4 games that Alvin Kamara should feast on, based on the lack of defense in the run game on the other team. So I think it's a good trade. I think Curly Wolf made a good trade.
I was gonna say, looking at it now, it is a good trade. It's just I'm concerned about Kamara's health right now. Playing with those bruised ribs. But you do make a good point. Najee, even though he's going to get a lot of touches,
he's also dealing with the Lisfranc Z. So,
oh yeah.
So you're really picking, because Kamara has more upside because he was a late inactive for this early Sunday game. So you feel like he should get another week to prepare to be available for this game. I just believe in their offensive line more than I believe in the offensive line for Pittsburgh, because has not been able to do much.
And let's call spade a spade here. The Steelers as a whole, I feel, are kind of like
womp womp womp.
Yeah, and I don't know. I feel like it's a weird year for coaches like Mike Tomlin and Bill Belichick.
Definitely.
Because,
he's starting Zappy.
Yeah. Bailey Zappi from Western Kentucky.
Yes.
So it was definitely an interesting game to watch. I'm sitting there and I'm at one point I just ended up turning it off just because I can't watch anymore. It's Bailey is not going to be doing much, and it was unfortunate to see Brian Hoyer, get hurt.
Yeah,
and because I don't know, I've always kind of had a soft spot for Brian Hoyer.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why. He's just one of those guys. He's a blue collar type of guy.
Stop it.
No, a respect. I'm not saying he's a good player. A respect.
I get what you're saying.
That's as far as it goes. And because
he is 1-8 in his starts. I don't believe in him.
No.
He's not the great bald wonder.
No. I believe that was Matt Hasselbeck back in the day.
Oh yeah. All right. Now we're gonna speed through and try to get through these news and notes. If anything becomes of relevance, either you guys in the chat or you, Matt, just stop me. We're going to start with Tampa Bay. I did have Chris Godwin on my bench. I was not sure with him being that Sunday night game. Was it a Monday night game? Either or.
Sunday.
I wasn't sure about playing him, so I did start Christian Kirk. I kind of regretted it because Christian Kirk didn't really have a great game. But I digress. Okay, we're going to start with Tampa Bay. Todd Bowles, the head coach, was out for a personal reason, and so was Tom Brady with a shoulder finger. He did not participate. Don't really want to look too much into it because with his age and his veteran title, Wednesdays aren't usually a heavy practice day anyway for veterans, so I wouldn't put any much into this. If he doesn't practice Thursday or is limited Thursday, I would start to worry if he doesn't practice on Thursday. If he's limited Thursday, limited Friday through the walkthrough, I feel fine. I also feel fine starting him. He's on my start list for this week. I would not mind starting Tom Brady because he will have hopefully Chris Godwin, Russell Gage, and Mike Evans. Cole Beasley retired after 2 games. Hopefully Julio Jones might also be back as well.
Yeah, I'm looking into that right now. I think he is scheduled to be back this year. Or not this year, this week, which he's questionable right now with a knee injury. So
yes.
Hit or miss.
Yeah, hit or miss. So we'll continue on. Injuries for Arizona. Marquise Brown did not practice with a foot injury. They're doing walkthroughs. Offensive linemen, one was placed on the practice squad. Blah, blah, blah. Kyle Pitts did not practice with a hamstring injury. He's on my sit list for this week until further notice. I'm sorry. I cannot sit Gerald Everett anymore because Gerald Everett has tremendously outplayed him so far this year. And that's another person on my waiver wire list.
I told you.
Yes, you did.
I told you.
Gus Edwards returned to practice for the first time after tearing his ACL. So that's something to keep relevant because Mike Davis and Justice Hill just have not really cut it. Justice Hill is dealing with a hamstring injury. Isaiah McKenzie practiced on a limited basis on Wednesday, so that's good. He still has yet to, I think he's passed the protocol or may still have to pass a few more steps to be ready, but he is on the radar. Moving on along. With Chicago, David Montgomery, ankles is still yet to practice. Their wide receiver, N'Keal Harry, was designated to return to practice. He was required this offseason. He's the one that had the surgery for a high ankle sprain. So he's starting practice. He has 3 weeks. So does Gus Edwards. They both have, I think, 3 to 4 weeks to get ready and become part of the active roster, or they'll have to be put on the IR for the rest of the year. For our IDP leagues, Myles Garrett, shoulder bicep, returned to practice on Wednesday. Jadeveon Clowney's ankle injury is not expected to practice. Okay. Dak Prescott was doing work on the side, still can't grip a ball on the seams with a tight enough grip, so he's probably not going to play this week. Dalton Schultz was a full participant. He's dealing with a knee injury. They did sign Will Grier to the active roster. Even that probably does not have any relevance. Russell Wilson is dealing with a shoulder injury. All indications, he says he's good enough to play. All signs indicate that he may still suit up and play on Thursday. But if you are starting him, I would tell you to possibly may look for a better option for this week. We'll get to that a little bit later. With the Lions, DeAndre Swift did not practice, is still resting. It feels like he's probably going to be out until the bye, but Coach Dan Campbell says he's day-to-day. Amon-Ra St. Brown still remains day-to-day as well as he continues to rest after missing last week's game. He is dealing with an ankle injury. This is not a good sign. Josh Reynolds, who had the big game, is out. Did not practice with an ankle injury. TJ Hawkinson also did not practice with a hip injury. So they did go ahead and sign Tom Kennedy, that wide receiver that no one heard of that was catching all those passes Sunday in Detroit. He was signed to the active roster. And they signed a kicker to their practice squad. If anybody has their kicker, please find another kicker. Okay. Moving along. Anything?
Just one last thing. Obviously, the injury to Tua Tagovailoa.
Yes.
We're not going to get too much in the details about it. We know that he's out. We know he sustained 2 very concussive hits between last Sunday and then this past Thursday as well. So first off, he's going to be out this week. Secondly, we at Jocks of All Trades, thoughts and prayers go out to him. Very unfortunate. We wish you the best, Tua. So hopefully you get to feeling better, man.
Yes.
Take it easy.
Oh, yes. And on another note, Javonte Williams, the Denver Broncos suffered a season-ending knee injury. I believe he tore his ACL as well as his LCL. So he is out for the year. That is why we're talking about Melvin Gordon. And thoughts and prayers out to him, and hopefully he makes a swift recovery. We're going to breeze through the rest of the news and notes. Only have a few more things to add. Hunter Renfrow will return to practice with a non-contact jersey. He's still under concussion protocol. Jonathan Taylor has officially been ruled out for Thursday's game. So if you have Jonathan Taylor on your roster, he is out. So you need to make other accommodations. We will get into waiver wire. Justin Herbert was full. Keenan Allen, hamstring, still did not practice. They are playing it slow with him because their bye week is not until week 8. So they don't really want to compound his injury and make it something that's 1 or 2 weeks, maybe to 6 to 8 weeks, because hamstrings injuries can range and they can extend. So Jalen Waddle did not practice on Wednesday. Neither did Xavier Howard or Byron Jones. Mac Jones was limited in Wednesday's practice. Reports that he's progressing. Mac Jones.
Sorry.
Reports Jones is while he is making progress, it is unlikely to start, barring a speedy recovery expected this week. Brian Hoyer, like you said, is in concussion protocol. Jacoby Meyer is limited. They did sign Garrett Gilbert to the practice squad for quarterback depth. Jameis Winston, back and ankle, did not practice. Neither did Michael Thomas with his foot injury. Daniel Jones is getting an optimistic outlook from his ankle injury this weekend. The team immediately signed 2 quarterbacks. They worked out on Tuesday, so it's probably likely he's not going to play. I don't know if you saw that game, but he got hurt with the ankle injury. Tyrod Taylor came in the game, got hurt, and then he had to come in the game, and then they played Wildcat for basically.
I was going to say, I saw Saquon line up in the quarterback position. I didn't see much more than that, but
that was a very weird game, if I do say so myself. So Tyrod Taylor didn't practice today. Kenny Golladay, knee injuries, not expected to travel. Not that many people are rostering Kenny Golladay as it is. Their left tackle that was hurt with the arm injury has been designated to return. That means he suffered a broken forearm on September the 1st. So he is expected to be back within the next 3 weeks. And their current left tackle is dealing with a shoulder injury, and his availability for Sunday is in question. Wide receiver Calvin Austin III has been designated to return for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and Fitzpatrick, his knee injury, he did not play. The 49ers list of injuries are extensive, and let's just say none of them are probably going to play this week. Tom Brady had a scheduled day off. Julio Jones was limited today in practice. Cameron Brate had a concussion, and he is not practicing. And, yes, this is the last piece that I want to share with you, and then we'll move forward. You remember me talking about Brian Robinson Jr. from the
I was
Commanders?
hoping you would get to him. He
has been designated for return. He sustained gunshot wounds over a month ago in D.C. and is expected to be activated off of the reserve non-football injury list this week after fully recovering. So I could already see Antonio Gibson being phased out of the offense even as soon as last week. And I don't see it so far of a stretch for those who switching over. Let me switch banners. I didn't even put up the first banner. Switching over to sleepers. He's a definite sleeper. I would definitely put him in that category as a sleeper because he can come in and over a course of 1 to 3 weeks reestablish himself of what we saw and completely take over the rundowns and possibly the pass downs because he may have only been a part-time back in Alabama, It's because he didn't need to be a full-time back, and he has the potential to really take over that role and excel. And that's all I'm going to say about that.
I was going to say, to add to that, obviously this will be his first week back from, that injury.
Mm-hmm.
And, I don't expect him to make an impact week one. I mean, they're going to kind of work him in a little bit, especially over the next, week, 2 weeks, hell, maybe even 3 weeks. But I do see him surpassing J.D. McKissick as RB2 and then eventually becoming RB1 over Antonio Gibson.
Yeah.
Now, is he going to be the difference maker for that Washington Commanders team? Probably not, because, you're still playing behind Carson Wentz, which he's had a couple good games. I will say that, but it's still a little inconsistencies from him.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm excited to see the kid play. I'm excited. I've held on to him for 4 weeks now on my IR, and it was just like, all right,
see what you're going to do.
I hope this pays off, which I think it will.
Definitely. All right, let's slide on over to Jock or Joke. We're going to try to run through this as well so we can make sure we get I think our waiver wire is going to be a little extensive this week, more extensive than it has been. Well, go ahead, man.
All right, so for this week, I have QBs and running backs, and for my QBs, I have two jocks. My first one is Jared Goff. Put up 33 points this past week in a Week 4 matchup against Seattle. Turned out to be a great week for the number 1 overall pick of 2016. Goff and the Lions, who is the number 1 team in scoring still, is going up against New England in Week 5, who is giving up the 10th most points to opposing QBs.
Definitely.
Now, with that said, yeah, the Lions are the number 1 scoring offense, but they're also giving up the most points defensively.
Yes.
So it's frustrating. I mean, I hate to be a Lions fan because, I mean, it's amazing that they are the number 1 scoring team in the league right now. And just want to point out that Jared Goff did put up all those points without the likes of Amon-Ra St. Brown and DeAndre Swift. Sure, he still had TJ Hawkinson and Josh Reynolds and Jamal Williams, but to be without 2 of your premier starters and still put up those type of numbers, which were 26 to 39, 378 yards, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception, which turned out to be a pick six. That's unfortunate. And then had 2 2-point conversions. So that's my first.
Yes, he was over PPR and non-PPR. He was the number 1 QB.
Yeah. And then my second jock is Geno Smith.
Mm-hmm. Well reserved. Well deserved.
I was going to say I didn't expect, the 2 jocks of the week for QB to be in the same game. But, Geno Smith, he went 23 of 30, 320 yards, 2 touchdowns, 7 rushes for 49 yards and a rushing touchdown. Like I said earlier, he's playing better than the man he replaced, Russell Wilson. Mm-hmm. His Week 5 matchup against New Orleans will prove whether or not he's the real deal or not, I feel like. So,
yeah, especially with that defensive line and Lattimore probably going to be shadowing Metcalf. I think it might be a good game for Tyler Lockett. So, just remember that. That's that waiver wire ad in there. She's pretty rostered. Let me look at him right now.
You're good. I was just going to say it's probably going to be a good game for Will Disley.
Disley. He's rostered at 87% of leagues, so he might be tradable, but that's the one I feel is going to probably have a good game. So if you have Tyler Lockett, I would probably at least put him in your flex position because he's probably going to eat with DK Metcalf being blanketed.
Mm-hmm. And then my joke for QB, unfortunately, for Mitch Trubisky, he he will be. Tomlin has come out and said he will be the backup to Kenny Pickett for the remainder of the season.
Yep.
Tough go for Mitch Trubisky this past week. 7 of 13, 84 yards, and 1 interception.
And a benching and being benched.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's unfortunate for Mitch Trubisky. I mean, who would have thought?
Their offensive line is bad, bro. So it
is.
But they have to look to the future because he is their first round draft pick. And if
Absolutely,
Mr. Trubisky would just basically have to blow the doors off every week and bring in wins. He's not doing either. So why waste the time?
Exactly. No time like the present.
There you go.
Moving right along.
Mariota.
Oh, do what?
I say the same thing for Marcus Mariota.
Ooh, I want your take on that later.
Mm-hmm.
For running backs, my jock of the week, Miles Sanders.
Oh, why? There's so many other choices. Why did you choose Miles Sanders?
I went with Miles Sanders because his 29-point performance was insane. I don't think there was any other running backs that scored higher than that this week. Now that I think about it.
Josh Jacobs. Austin Eckler.
Oh, okay. But to be fair, with Austin Eckler, you half expect that from him.
Yeah, because he got receiving yards and 2 touchdowns. So
exactly, Josh Jacobs. He's been known in the past. Granted, it's been a while since he had a big game. Miles Sanders.
He was in the RB dead zone. So you should not expect that. Well, both of these guys were in the RB dead zone to be exact. So these were zero RB approaches all the way. I was
going to say, for me personally, Miles Sanders putting up these numbers, that doesn't happen like ever. Especially with do what?
And he's getting targets out of the backfield. So he's taking Boston Scott's role a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
So, and Kenneth Gainwell, they're giving him the keys. That offensive line is the best I've seen it in a long while. I was very hesitant because I've been let down by him before. So,
yeah, you and everyone else. I know I have before.
And Josh Jacobs. So,
I got to give this one to Miles Sanders because this is a once in a blue moon type of deal. I hardly think it's going to happen ever again. To be honest,
once I saw his stats on that, I'll tell you.
Once he put those numbers up, I thought to myself, "Hey, maybe I could get lucky and buy a lottery ticket." But alas, I didn't do that.
Let me break this down to you. He played 12 games last year, right? Playing 12 games, he ran the ball 137 times for 754 yards and 5.5 yards and 0 touchdowns, right?
Mm-hmm.
4 games this season, he's rushed it for 72 times and ran for 356 yards and 4.9 yards per attempt. So he's already gotten almost half of the yardage he gained through 12 games in 4. I would really love to see what his projection would be based on this pace he's going right now, because I'm pretty sure if I had to multiply this times 4, 16 games. No, 4 times 4, 16.
Well, 17. We'll call it 16.
We'll call it 16.
Just to make math easier.
Just to make math a little bit easier. That's over 1,400 yards rushing.
I don't think. When's the last time Philly had a running back that ran over 1,000 yards?
You probably have to look back to Brian Westbrook.
That's what I was going to say.
It was after Brian Westbrook. I don't think Darren Sproles did it. What was the guy who also played with the Chiefs?
Hold on.
I'm trying to. Now you got me thinking about stuff.
I was going to say we're going to have to research this. Hold on a sec, guys. We need to.
And they're playing in Arizona this week, so that's a pretty good matchup against Arizona. Pretty good weather conditions too.
Oh, wait. Here we go. LaShawn McCoy.
LaShawn McCoy.
That was
Did
the
he rush
last
for 1,000
one.
yards?
2014. 1,319.
Okay.
So it's been a while,
Yeah.
but yeah, he keeps
He's
the
on
pace
pace.
up.
He's on pace to beat that. So I would put him in top RB, top 10. He's a top 10 lock. He start. He's not a sit, especially not with the schedule they have moving forward. He's definitely not a sit. So
Now, since I have the list pulled up, the if Google is correct, the rushing record for Philadelphia Eagles also set by LaShawn McCoy in 2013 with 1,607 yards. So
he would have stepped up.
There's your fun fact of the week, boys and girls. So
there you go. That's what we like to hear.
Yeah, I got to give Miles Sanders the jock of the week from my take. Okay. Josh Jacobs, not to take away from him, he did great. Eckler did great as well, but we expect that from Eckler. It's just about time he did it this year.
Yeah.
My joke of the week, though, Antonio Gibson.
Definitely. Yeah, he's spacing out.
Yeah. I mean, 13 rushing attempts for 49 yards, 3 targets, 3 receptions for 14 yards, 9.3 points.
That's low in flex.
Yeah. I mean, granted, yeah, he did go up against a stout Dallas defense.
Yeah.
That's a given. But I look for his numbers to drop off, especially since Brian Robinson is coming off the IR and will be thrown into that running back committee, going forward. So,
yeah.
But who knows how long it's going to be a committee since, Brian Robinson could come out and blow everyone out of the water. God willing.
That's what I'm looking for.
And those are my jocks and jokes for this week for QB and running back. How about you?
All right. I'm going to spin this for you real quick. Obviously, my jock of the week for wide receiver is Justin Jefferson. He came in and was the man. 13 targets, 10 receptions, 147 yards, obviously 14.7 yards per catch. 41 yard bomb just on a rope right there to him. 5 20-plus yard receptions. He didn't get any touchdowns, but he got a rushing touchdown. First rushing touchdown of the year. It was a great game. 31 fantasy points. It was just like, where have you been all my life? Like, that was like the greatest game I could sit and watch because, one, I got to watch you guys mollywop the Saints, which, thank you. And two, it was just a great game. I love Minnesota's offense. They run a very elite style of offense, if you can say that, because it's an offense where multiple portions can shine at the same time. So I would just like to see this offense really with a little bit more dimension. And if they can bring that, it's a perfect offense to watch. That defense just got to get better. But Justin Jefferson's awesome. I put him in the same tier with Cooper Kupp, Javonte Adams, those types of wide receivers that no matter where you put them, they will thrive. And he's thriving in the system. He may have his bumps, but they're 1 week slumps. They're not multiple week slumps like Mike Williams. He'll consistently put an effort in, and I could also say the same thing as Cooper Kupp, who didn't score any touchdowns, but he's just a target hog. 14 receptions on 19 targets, 122 yards. He didn't really get anything deep. Matthew Stafford right now is pretty bad. That offensive line is on their third string left tackle, so it's not the most optimistic thing to look forward to playing around that offensive line. So, but Cooper Kupp did his thing. He caught the ball when he needed to. My jock of the week for tight end, obviously, was the great TJ Hawkinson. That was a barn burner if I've ever seen one. The top scoring offense in the league right now, and you can see it. Jared Goff, like you talked about before, was throwing lasers. He did throw one bad interception, a couple passes that maybe shouldn't have been thrown in the direction they were thrown, that should have been intercepted. But TJ Hawkinson, 12 targets, 8 receptions, 179 yards, 22.54 yards per reception, 81-yard touchdown where you see him really show his athleticism. That was a great game. 2 touchdowns. It was a great game. He had 39.9 fantasy points.
Part of me doesn't want to talk about that though, because I did have him on my bench.
I started him over my joke.
Oh,
I started him over.
I'll let you get to that. Just yeah, I ended up benching him because I didn't think he was going to have a good game. I ended up starting Gerald Everett as well, which he also had a good game.
Yes.
But it's just like, man, the one time I bench him, he just goes off. It's like, come on, man.
And you know what? I had Gerald Everett in another league on my Yahoo half PPR league. I had TJ Hawkinson starting, but I was like, I started him over Kyle Pitts in one league, who's my joke of the week. And I was like, who's start? I was like, I think Gerald Everett to have a better. I think TJ Hawkinson have a better game. And then they both go off, and I'm like, well, at least I picked the right one. At least I picked the right one. I was like, goodness. But I would have won with either one of them. That was the thing. And Gerald Everett would. TJ Hawkinson's game was really. I did not think that they were going to target him as much as they did, because they were down a lot of wide receivers, and that guy Tom Kennedy, I don't know where he came from, man. He's an honorable mention. He's a definite honorable mention because he came off the practice squad and really just played his part. You know what I mean? Just played his part. But I'm going to get to my jokes of the week. One would be Drake London, and the offense itself, I think they only threw 13 passes. So, So it wasn't much. The whole second half, the fourth quarter, they ran 25 running plays. But that run game is so amazing. That run game is amazing. It's very diverse. The defense is very diverse. I don't know how well they'll stack up against truly elite wide receivers, but AJ Terrell had a bounce back game against Amari Cooper, so it was really something to really look forward to. Amari Cooper was also a joke, but let me get to this. I could say Christian Kirk, but he did at least score a touchdown. But
yeah. So let me ask you this: or you're talking about Atlanta's running game, and you already mentioned Drake London, joke of the week.
Yeah, 3.7 fantasy points.
Yeah. And then, Kyle Pitts, he's been he's not lived up to the hype. So,
okay, Gerald Everett has almost 30 more targets or 30 more routes run than Kyle Pitts. Gerald Everett has almost 30 more routes run than Kyle Pitts over the first 4 weeks.
So let me ask you, do you think it's, a lack of trust in Marcus Mariota, or do they just trust the running game a lot more than Mariota's ability to pass the ball?
Yes. It seemed like when he threw that crappy interception, the offense got very condensed. It got very, very run heavy, very condensed because once they got the lead back, they wanted to stretch the game out. So I think it's a lack of trust in Marcus Mariota and a lack of development in the scheme. I'd say this: if we were in the same position record-wise as the Pittsburgh Steelers, we might have been another week away of watching Marcus Mariota sub 15 fantasy points, being on the bench like Mitch Trubisky and Desmond Ritter getting the run for it. Because they seem like the philosophies are just about the same when it comes to those two teams. And I didn't think Arthur Smith would sit there and watch us continue to lose without actually seeing what we have in the quarterback before the next season gets started. Because if we're going to be a low pick, we want to see what we have in our third-round draft pick before we go looking at this new draft class to make sure that this isn't worth something and we're not passing it over. So I really feel like if we start losing, Marcus Mariota is going to be sitting on the sidelines.
So let me ask this, and then we'll move on to next topic. Okay. Say you guys have a chance to go out and get, say, Bryce Young. Let's just throw him out there. Do you think the organization as a whole goes after Bryce Smith and completely, bypasses Desmond Ritter? Or do you think there would be another QB competition – or Bryce Young, I'm sorry. Do you think there would be another QB competition between Bryce Young and, say, Desmond Ritter?
Oh, I think they give it to Bryce Young being the pedigree of being a first-round draft pick. But, we've seen in instances where the lesser valued outshines the greater. So, but I think it'd be his job to lose. Most definitely, unless he just comes in and is completely incompetent.
Right.
From what I see in Alabama, he's pretty smart. So,
oh yeah.
So I think they let him have it until he gives it away.
But, right. Because kid's a winner. He's got a winning mentality. So I mean,
definitely. All right, let me edit that. All right, we're gonna condense this waiver wire a little bit because we got a lot of names to get to, and if our names overlap, we'll just roll with it. All right, I'm gonna let you.
I was gonna say, I know you have a list, so I'm just gonna run through mine real quick.
Okay.
For waiver wire pickups at the QB position, Jared Goff for sure.
For sure.
For Yahoo, he's only 69% rostered right now. That's a plus 17 from last week. ESPN, 59% or 59.7% roster. That's a plus 29 from last week. We mentioned it earlier. He's going up against that New England offense. Probably going to be a tough matchup for him. New England's defense is kind of like they show up one week, they're gone the next. Inconsistent. But if nothing else, definitely pick up Jared Goff, stash him for a week, and then I would probably start him going forward just because of the numbers he's been putting up this year.
Before you go on, Jared Goff or Aaron Rodgers?
Aaron Rodgers. I won't listen. I can't count that man
out. Him or Derek Carr?
Oh, Jared Goff. I feel like, yeah, I would honestly. I feel like the Raiders as a whole is another one of those teams that are kind of underperforming. It's not that they're a bad team. They are in a tough division, the AFC West, but I think for me personally, Jared Goff's been a little bit more consistent than what Derek Carr has been. So I got to give it to Jared Goff there.
All right.
Now for running backs, we mentioned him once, mentioned him twice, mentioned him 3 times. We're going with Brian Robinson out of Washington. He's let's see here. He's 59% rostered in Yahoo, 39.8 rostered in ESPN. Those are up a little bit. He's coming off IR. He's not going to be starting right off the bat, so let's just remember that. But he is going to be added to the rotation. There was a lot of hype around this kid out of the preseason. I think eventually he will take on the starter role as Washington's premier back. Mike Boone out of Denver. Javonte Williams going down. We mentioned Melvin Gordon. He is getting a little older, though, so Mike Boone, definitely a good pickup for you guys. And Tyler Algiere. Let's see. He was 54% roster in Yahoo, ESPN 37.4. Algiere should see a significant boost in productivity in the coming weeks with Cordell Patterson going down with a knee injury. Now, Cordell isn't out for the season, but he's going to miss a few weeks. I forget how long they're talking, but that'll also depend. He should be a good flex option, but
Barring
be wary
Damien
because
Williams returning, who's expected return from IR off of IR next week.
and then Caleb Hundley also put up a decent stat line this past week with Algiere, so it's looking like Atlanta has a pretty decent running back committee right now. So
Yeah.
But I would still put some stock in Tyler Algiere. So those are my waiver wire pickups.
And to add on to your Tyler Algiere and Caleb Hundley, Caleb Hundley is probably easier to get because they're both pretty easy because they're both under 20% rostered. Caleb Hundley being 0% rostered in any league, so they're basically going for free out there right now. And if you really feel as if you are 1-3, 0-4, and you need an insurgence, I really feel like this running scheme, Tyler Algiere is a little bit higher on that pecking order, but to get one or the other, Tyler Algiere is probably more of an RB2, low end RB2, high end flex, and Caleb Hundley is more of a borderline flex. So deeper leagues, they're a lot more valuable. I would say 14, 16 team leagues, they are almost as good as gold. So I would take a lot of consideration for them. I would also like to add, these are more rostered guys, but Nyheim Hines, 60% rostered. He should see a boost. They also did pick up Philip Lindsay. Don't know if he will be a factor. I would not probably factor him in, but Nyheim Hines.
Name I haven't heard in a while.
Yes, Nyheim Hines seems to have a consistent role. It's just trying to see whether or not they'll give him 15 to 20 touches as the main guy. If they give him 15 to 20 rushes and give him his pass catching, I feel like he could be a serviceable flex, low end RB2. Raheem Mostert took over almost exclusively all the rundown work. Got a couple passes out of the backfield. I really feel like he's getting an uptick, kind of being sidelined. I kind of have sidelined Chase Edmonds a little bit to just passing down work. So that's another guy to consider. Rashad White from Tampa Bay. Leonard Fournette, it's kind of up and down. And it just seems like Rashad White consistently each week finds work. I'm looking for a little bit of more of an uptick. They promised to get White more involved as a change of pace rusher and a receiver out of the backfield. So he played 24 snaps compared to Fournette's 39 and finished with 14.6 fantasy points. He's definitely on a radar in deeper leagues. He's definitely on 12, 14, 16 team waiver wire as a potential flex, somebody to kind of handcuff Leonard Fournette. If he goes down, you have somebody serviceable. We're going to kind of run through these. Obviously, Alexander Madison. Isaiah Pacheco is actually taking up more snaps than Clyde Edwards-Helaire. He's just less efficient, but he is on the field a lot. Geno Smith is averaging 323.5 passing yards and 25.3 fantasy points with the league highest completion rating of 74.7. His matchup against the Saints is pretty tough. Zach Wilson really showed that he was back from that knee injury. He had 82.8 fantasy points in deeper leagues, 2 QB leagues. He is someone you could look at. Kenny Pickett, he is taking over as starter. I don't know what that really means for fantasy, but I know he's probably going to be way more efficient than Mitchell Trubisky is. So I see an uptick possibly in Naeem Hines, Claypool, and obviously a guy I'm going to talk about. I don't know if you talked about him or not. George Pickens. He is
Oh
37.6%
yeah.
rostered. He had 6 receptions on 8 targets for 102 yards against the Jets. He looks like to have a full rapport, and they show a lot of potential. And this really, to be honest, if I don't see any activity from Claypool this week, and I see George Pickens and Deontay Johnson and Fryermuth get all the work, and Najee Harris, I'm gonna drop Claypool.
Yeah.
Now he is on the drop line right there. He is on the border of being on the drop line. Speed this up. I've been speaking about Romeo Dobbs. He is in the last 2 games. Romeo Dobbs has 16 targets. Has had accumulated 16 targets over the last 2 games and scored at least 13 fantasy points in both games. So I feel like he's building rapport. He's probably going to end up the rest of the year as the RB1. Alan Lazard probably wide receiver 1, and Alan Lazard reside at the 2. Gallup, Michael Gallup, Corey Davis in deeper leagues, Alec Pierce, Donovan Peoples-Jones, Nico Collins, and even though they are hurt, I'm going to throw these last 2 wide receivers in there. Jahan Dotson, who's at 13 plus fantasy points in 3 out of the 4 last games, and Kadarius Toney. And I'm just going to give you 2 tight ends, Robert Tonyan and Tyler Higbee.
Oh, I forgot about Higbee.
Tyler Higbee was the number 2 target last week. And
Well,
I don't think that's going away because none of the other wide receivers were able to step up, and Cooper Kupp and Tyler Higbee got all of the work. All right.
well,
I'm gonna give you one trade bait, and I'm gonna present a scenario to you, and I'm gonna just to see if you would go for it. Okay.
Okay.
All right. I have Jamal Williams in a couple of leagues, knowing that he had this big game over the last week, and knowing that he may still have a role in the offense, but it may be very much more condensed when DeAndre Swift comes back. Would you propose this to be the best time to possibly try to swap him for maybe a team that's on the losing end, 1-3, 0-4, if they may have the likes of Alvin Kamara or Jonathan Taylor, those kind of guys, to try to see if you could possibly swap a win now for a win later? Do you think that is possible? Would you?
I would shoot my shot,
Mhm.
definitely, because like you said, Jamal Williams is going hot right now.
Yes.
But like you said, it's only a matter of time before DeAndre Swift comes back. And,
his role becomes much more condensed.
Oh, yeah. And, with teams that are, like you said, 0-4, 1-3, they kind of get in that desperation mode.
Yes.
So it's like, okay, I got to do something to salvage this season. This person's not doing anything for me. So let's get someone who's producing a lot. Henceforth, Jamal Williams. I mean, I would at least try it, honestly, because it's one of those, buy low, sell high type of ordeals, and Jamal Williams foots the bill on that.
There you go. All right. Well, that was that one trade question I had for you. Are you ready for your favorite round?
Woo! What is it? Lightning
round. I swear I'm going to get a soundboard.
We need to. I like it. Go completely analog here.
There we go.
So 3 questions, a minute apiece. I'll start the time once I read off the question. So we talked about it already. Mitch Trubisky, being benched and bringing on Kenny Pickett. So since they are bringing in Kenny Pickett starting from here on in, what sort of impact will that have on the Steelers season going forward? Not fantasy-wise, just as a whole, as an organization.
I talked about it a little bit before, but just to elaborate a little bit more, it just feels as if they really want to see what they have now moving forward, regardless if they get a winning season out of it, because they obviously have to see what they got out of their first round draft pick in Kenny Pickett. Because as we have alluded to before, there is a big draft class of supposed high talent quarterbacks coming next season. So they really have to see what they have in Kenny Pickett. I do think that his mechanics are better than Mitchell Trubisky, and he'll give them an opportunity to win more games. But it's just whether or not he'll be Ben Roethlisberger or Terry Bradshaw. It's just a flippable coin. But the talent is there. The offensive line is just very bad.
All right. So, next question. So we touched on it already. Kyle Pitts' lack of production for the season. So, with that in mind, is it just a slow start to the season, or is there a chance that maybe he was a little overhyped, with last year's draft and this season? I want your take on it.
You had to ask me this question, didn't you?
I did have to ask you this question.
I think it has a lot to do with both. And there was a lot of hype because we got to see what he did with Matt Ryan. Granted, Marcus Mariota is no Matt Ryan. Not to say that he's not a serviceable quarterback. He just doesn't throw the ball as much. So when you have a offense that is obviously very run heavy, there are going to be less opportunities, and it just doesn't seem as if their scheme is developed enough to incorporate him and Drake London. And it seems as if they really don't have as much confidence in Marcus Mariota, just have the offense and play the way he wants to. So as long as this offense is condensed like a can of tomato soup, it's just going to be so bland.
Okay. But, maybe just to piggyback off of that, maybe if and when Desmond Ridder does kind of get that start, maybe we'll see
a spark.
Yeah. Yes. I think so too, between him and Drake London both. I mean, not to take away from Drake London, but I see the talent that Drake London has. I do.
Yes.
It's just, you need a
Somebody's going to pass the ball at least 30 times a game. There's had to be scheme draws up. There has to be an offense set to balance itself. It was 70-30. So run heavy.
Yeah.
So
eventually defenses are going to pick up on that and scheme around that.
And stack the box and dare you to throw it.
Mm-hmm. But I digress. You digress. We both digress. So, last question. Out of all the waiver wire pickups that we talked about today, or tonight, rather, it's 8:15 at night, so it's not daytime anymore. But out of all the waiver wire pickups we mentioned, who do you think is going to have the most impact for fantasy in Week 5?
Ooh. That's That's a very good question. Everybody's an if. Everybody's an if and a but. So I'm just going to take a swing. With the way that it looks to be, I feel like Jared Goff's probably going to have a pretty good week again this week to bounce back. I see some form of regression, but I think he's going to continue to be consistent with what he has as long as he has a consistent weapon to throw to. I feel like he's probably going to perform and outperform what everybody thinks he's going to do this week.
Okay. I was going to say, for me, I was going to, even though he's rostered in most leagues, I was going to say, Nyheim Hines is probably going to have a good impact for the Colts tomorrow night. So we'll wait and see. I can't wait to see. I can't wait to see what he does for the Colts tomorrow night. So
he's going against a very stingy run defense, I think. So
he is. But hopefully that opens up some opportunities for getting catches out of the backfield and really show that he's kind of a Swiss Army knife type of running back, in my opinion. So
yeah, what if it's a revenge game for Philip Lindsay?
I didn't even think about that. Did not think about that. Yeah, I totally missed that, with the Colts signing Philip Lindsay, but who knows? That'd be pretty funny though.
Yeah. Well, if there's nothing else, you got anything else, Matt?
I got nothing else, man. How about you?
I think I'm good. So
well, hopefully this helped you guys out. Again, like, subscribe, listen to, watch, however you want to do it. Feel free to listen to us at YouTube, Spotify, Twitter, Facebook, all the interwebs.
Tell a friend. Or you can just tell a friend.
But this has been another episode of Armchair GMs. I'm Matt.
And I'm Bugman Jay.
And we're signing off for now. Catch you guys on the flip side.
Peace out.